Welcome to the Reloading Podcast on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Primary Arms. Tonight, we're going to talk about priming on the press, off the press. Unfortunately, the one with the really fancy setup for priming isn't here because I don't think Travis knew we were going to talk about priming because I didn't really decide we were going to talk about priming until about a half hour ago because it's been one of those. I don't know. My life's been like a successive mess of weeks. So I apologize to everybody, but unfortunately I didn't really plan a topic. So and was finally got a chance to sit down and figure it out as I was getting the show set up. So anyway, but we're going to talk about priming on the press, off the press, for bottleneck, for pistol, for mass quantities, for single quantities. Why? Why not? How? Where? With how many bananas? What? Never mind. So I actually went shooting. Last Wednesday I went shooting. And I took the upper that Primary Arms sent me to test out and ran some ammo through it. And amazing, the ammo I ran through it wasn't. It was a bunch of that test ammo that oh, good grief. Wow. I am just dumb right now. Good grief. Jonathan. My goodness. Wow. Sorry.
J-Dub.
So, yeah, it was the test ammo that Jonathan gave me. So, the amazing thing. So, I was playing around a little bit, and there was a target that was up there already, one of those shoot and sees. This was only at 25 yards. Now, mind you, this ammo was not loaded for any sort of accuracy. It was literally just put together to be test ammo on a machine. And all I did was slap the upper onto my my lower. And when I did that, I had literally just taken the Vortex optic that I had on my other upper, unbolted it, slapped it on the new upper, and really, I didn't even do anything with it. So, excuse me. But if you look, I'm going to zoom this out a little bit here. This was only 25 yards, but this was, let me do that. This is 25 yards, and this was just farting around. So I'd say that the Strike Fire 2
with the red dot.
Yeah, I'd say the Strike Fire 2 actually was pretty impressive. All I did was I literally took it off my one upper. It's a quick detach. Slapped it on the other upper in the exact same spot on the pick rail. So, and then
that's pretty consistent.
Yeah, that was a 3-shot group. I was actually aiming instead of just cranking out, just expending ammunition to expend ammunition. So, I am doing a horrible disservice. So, where to go? Expo Arms. So Primary Arms sent me an Expo Arms upper to test. Regular 16-inch barrel, and I was actually rather impressed. I am going to get back out at some point in time in the near future here with some subsonic loads to test and see if it'll still cycle with subsonics. I had a Palmetto State Armory bolt carrier group in it, and it didn't want to cooperate until I got it nice and sloppy wet. But once I did that, it was just running like a top. So, but I had a blast. I actually got to get out and shoot. I probably put a couple hundred rounds through it. So, but Mark K said a hammer and punch is great for priming. If you're gonna reload your primer, then yeah, you're gonna need a hammer and punch to pop that divot back out. But otherwise, no. So, I mean, theoretically, you could. I mean, honestly, literally, you really could. We'll discuss that a little later, though. So, Jim, what you been up to?
Well, first thing I did was I took 2 new shooters shooting.
Yay!
Ring that bell.
Ding, 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 ding.
And the second thing I did was pick up quite a bit of components, 2 shot shell presses, a head squeezer is the only thing I can think of calling it. Mike, what's the name of that tool, the head squeezing tool?
Resizer.
That's the head steel,
Shot
the
shell,
metal
yeah.
casing, and the metal
Yeah,
part of the shot shell.
Just literally a shot shell resizer.
Shot shell resizer, okay.
Yep.
For the metal part.
I got one around here somewhere. I think it's out in the garage.
And I've also got a boatload, nearly an eighth of a truckload of shot shell components. I'm talking about shot cups and hulls. I'm not sure what all I have. I found a couple things that were in there, I think, for 28 gauge. And I know I got 12, 16, and I think I got 20 in there too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take in, well, the guy I usually give a shout out to, he'll appreciate this. I'm going to take in, bundle it up in packages of 100 and give it away here on the show. 100 at a time, because putting 250 hulls in one middle-sized flat rate box, it don't work. So I figured 100 and 100. Anyway.
Awesome.
And, Mike and I will figure out how or who or what, how we're going to take and do this. I favor the idea of the third person saying something in Gmail, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, for sure, we'll give at least one away during a show in the chat, but we'll announce that in advance and make sure we get it well out there, so that people who
the live listeners, live viewers have a good shot at getting it.
Yep. So, Nick and Ray, what you been up to?
I not too much. Just picked up some more components this week. I picked up 2 pounds. Our local big box store got Shooter's World match rifle powder in sub $30 a pound. So
Really?
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw that. I think what was it, 20
right at 27.
Yeah, $27 a pound, which I'm like, okay, 2 pounds come home with me.
And believe it or not, I looked before we went on the air. Midway has that same powder for $27.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I mean, Shooter World has always been kind of competitive with their pricing, and they've usually been a little cheaper than everybody else. Yeah. So, given all things considered, that's a pretty good price.
Yeah, and we look at it, it's like, okay, that's going to make a nice, good 223 load.
I know Travis just loves all of the Shooter's World powders.
Oh, yeah. We've never had anything bad with them.
No.
I don't have anything close to me, so I've not been able to try them.
Yeah.
I'm not paying to ship powder when I have powder here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they also had all sorts of other powders. They also still had primers, so
yeah,
that's about all for me.
They had a bunch of CCI small rifle primers in stock. What do we pay? $68,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, which
that's a hell of a deal.
Yeah, so
that's your local?
Our local, yeah. Stuff is slowly starting to come back. They had, excuse my French, a shitload of Magnum small rifle primers.
Yeah, probably 40 boxes at least.
Yeah.
And then probably 40 bricks of shot shell 209s.
Yeah. I mean, plenty of 209 primers.
$60.
Yeah. Did they have pistol primers? I don't remember.
No.
And no large rifle. So,
No.
Other than that, been doing a little bit of woodworking, getting some stuff ready for a reenactment coming up. That's about it. Oh, I showed the guys earlier. I got my scope in for my German G43, my scope and mount. So we'll get that sighted in and see how that works.
Nice. Very nice. Anyway. So, I'm going to talk about priming, not primers. So, Jorgen, tell her happy birthday from all of us. And remember, it's her birthday, not yours. So that means she gets a massage without the extras. Anyway. Just flavored water. So, yeah, I mean, primers are starting to be a little more prevalent. Cabela's still sucks, but you know, that's because it's Cabela's. So, but yeah, I mean, you're starting to see a lot more of them on Brownells, Midway. I think Powder Valley. I'm not on the hunt for them all the time. So, welcome back, Andy. He had some bullets in the tumbler he had to go get. So, somebody asked Jorgen if he got her primers for her birthday. He said, no, I couldn't afford to buy her primers. I had to settle for pearl necklace and earrings. Which, if you know how much pearl necklace and earrings cost, then you understand why it's funny.
I'm thinking of the old ZZ Top song.
Not that pearl necklace.
Keep it clean.
That's why I said it's her birthday, the massage without the extras. Naughty monkey. Anyway. So, how many different ways is there to prime?
As many as you can think of.
So, somebody was being a smart aleck at the beginning of the show. And I'm going to bring the comment back up there. Where'd it go? There it is. So Mark K said hammer and punch set is great for priming. Now, he was being facetious, but it is actually possible.
If you're careful.
If you're careful and you have a wide enough punch. Because if you think about it, all a primer seating tool is just a punch that you're applying steady pressure to.
Steady pressure being the key word.
Right. So, I mean, if you, theoretically, you could. I wouldn't recommend it. But theoretically, you could use a hammer and a punch.
Point of note. That's exactly how they seat primers in the Lee loader.
Yeah.
Not the little Lee loading tool. You very gently press the primer in with a little bit of impact pressure from the hammer.
I got one of those around here somewhere. You know, one of these days I really need to organize this. Oh, yeah, after I move. Oh, instructions. So. All right. So they actually have a priming chamber and a priming rod. So how it works is essentially you're using a, I don't know if you can, let's see if we can get that to focus.
Looks like you're using a small rod to seat the primer.
Yeah. So if you can kind of see a little bit there. So you got your die. And then what you've got is, this is your priming chamber. So I'll kind of set this up so you can see what it looks like. So what you do is, what is this, 30-30? Aha. Oh, that's 257 Bob. Do I have a 30-30 here around here somewhere? No. Okay, so this is actually a prime case, so, but we're going to kind of for demonstration purposes. So you'd put your case in, and then you'd put in the priming chamber. Oh, never mind. So it doesn't want to. Hey, this thing actually. Anyway. So anyway, you'd put this in like this. It'd sit like that, and then it sits on the priming chamber, which if you look, it's got a little bit of flex to it. So put your primer in there, set your case on like this. And then literally what you do is this rod goes all the way down through, like so, into the center of the case. And so then what you're doing, I just grabbed a piece of brass that's here. This rod actually goes all the way down through into the center of the case, and then you're driving the case down onto the primer. So yeah, essentially, you are using a crikey. God, I don't know what's wrong with me lately. You are using a hammer and a punch. So Mark wasn't actually all that far off. Anyway. So that's that part. If you use a Lee loader, you actually are using a hammer and a punch. Now, what else do we got?
You could use one of the hand priming tools.
We got a lot of those. So I've got the Lee Auto Prime XR, which is the hated of all of the primers. Lee made a really good one for years and years and years. Well, one of the problems is stupid people cause problems. And so what stupid people do when they're priming is they don't pay attention. And so what they would do is they would feed a primer in, and then, come on, there we go. So what they would do is they would feed a primer in, and then they wouldn't pay attention to what they were doing, and they'd get a second primer jammed up in there. And so when they squeezed on it, both primers would pop. Yeah, they're dumb. So what Lee did in this one is they made a little step in here. So it actually goes into this chamber first. Then you squeeze the rod, it lifts it up, and then you got to keep it tilted. And so when it lifts up, it slides into where it's supposed to be, which is where that one's sitting right now. And then you can prime. However, if you don't have it at the exact correct angle, it doesn't feed very well, and you wind up shaking the heck out of it a lot. And it's a pain in the ass. That's why that is the most hated of the Lee primers. This is the new one. It's a different design. The only thing that's the same from the old one to the new one, literally, is these two pieces here. The housing is still the same and the lever is still the same. What they did is they redesigned the whole entire mechanism, and you can kind of see it here. If you look in there, you'll see that strip of metal that goes up and down. So what that
That's
is
to the screens left of the spring, Mike.
yep. So what that does, if you can see, it lifts up. That is now your primer block. So the
Okay.
primers come in here with this lovely little thing here, and this is actually not bad because you can lock it, and so no primers will flow through. Primers aren't bad to put on here. You can dump them and shake it. But yeah, that's kind of my favorite feature is you flip the switch, the primers will flow down, and then you can push it to the second position here, and then it blocks primers from going. They've started using this on the progressives now too, versus the older style. I don't know if I can get my camera over there or not. Those of us who have Loadmasters and stuff. So if you look through, you see that's the older style housing for the presses. So when you inevitably have a primer flip in that slide, it's a mess because you got to try and pull that out without losing all those primers. Whereas with the new one, you just flip that switch and the primer stops flowing. So that's the advantage of this part right here. This
Now,
is the
Mike,
redesign.
dumb question.
No such
Well,
thing. Only dumb people.
There you go. Will that triangle there hold 100 primers?
You know what? I don't know. That is a good question. So
Yeah, read the literature first.
I have no idea because I've never tried. I've used it quite a few times, but I've never tried to stuff a full 100 in there. All right. Yeah, it will.
Good.
So basically how it's designed to do that is here's your entire thing. You put it on top of your primer package, flip it over, and then you do your shakety thing. And then once you get them all flipped, then you're going to kind of shake them all to this side and close that over. So there is a warning literally right in here. It says all types of Federal brand large primers, including rifle, pistol, standard, and Magnum, should be used individually. If a Federal large primer is detonated, it's likely the entire tray of primers will explode and will cause serious injuries. You can conveniently feed primers individually by simply leaving the folding tray open and placing a primer smooth side down in the tray. So what they're saying, and the reason for that is Federal primers are softer. Everybody knows. Well, I shouldn't say everybody knows. A lot of people know that Federal primers are softer. So what they're saying is if you're going to hand prime and you're going to use Federals, you keep it open like this and you literally just slide, you put one on here and feed it in, one on here and feed it in. So that way, if it pops, you're only blowing up one. So Idaho Rogers says, I have one of each of the hand primer systems. I have an equal love-hate. That's a lot of it. So, and Paul Loud says, is that why they Federal packages their primers in a shoebox? Well, yes, Paul. Yes, it is. So, yeah. So we'll put that back in the box for now. And I do use that, but I've actually, because I like the older one and I'm good with it, I use that one more, which is why it has primers in it and that one didn't. A couple of other ones I've come across over the years is I have the Hornady. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about the Lee. So this is your package of universal shell holders for most of your Lee stuff. However, for Lee hand priming tools, these are useless. Where'd you go? There. Come here. No, that's not it. That's a Lee loader. Crap. Watch back.
In other words, what Mike's trying to show you is They have their own special style show holder. Very
And I don't-
similar to the snapping kind of goes like it goes when you raise RCBS press.
hiding under all the darn reading. Anyway, I was gonna shrend out her dies, but she's in Arizona, so she doesn't get them right now. So what I'm gonna do is show you side by side. I don't even care if they're the same size, but this is the difference.
Right.
This one is for the hand primers, and this is your normal for the presses and stuff. So, and it's not just a case of they lop the base off. It's actually probably about 1 millimeter thinner overall. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Nine-
just like the regular universal shell holder, it's not that expensive.
Go ahead,
Question?
Ray.
Well, I know Lyman makes a hand priming system too, and Nick's got one at his house, but it uses that uses standard shell holders.
Why, yes, it does.
So does
So
the
does the next
RCBS, doesn't it?
I don't know. I don't have an RCBS.
Right? Don't you have
Ow!
RCBS bench priming tool?
I got the bench prime, but I figured we'd cover that when Mike's done with the hand primers.
Okay. Do you have knowledge as to whether or not it accepts a regular show holder?
It does.
Thank you. Mike dropped something evidently.
No, that was a screwdriver bit that I was trying to pick up. Okay, so we did a show on these a long time ago, and I absolutely hate these. So Hornady in their infinite wisdom makes a couple of different plates, and I don't even remember because they're stupid and I don't remember. But so let's see here. So the priming tool itself, which is this, is preset, pre-adjusted. It's kind of like the Lee. It's got a little bar down here. You got your catch there, and that sits like that. So, and then when it squeezes, it pushes a ram up. So if you see, it moves a ram like so. Where it differs is there's no spring in that. But what you have to do is your spring's right here. So RCBS, according to Reloader 762, says RCBS has 2 hand primers. One uses shell holders, the other one is a universal case holder. So Hornady uses regular shell holders.
Wait a
Paul
minute.
said-
Nelson said,
so
or
the
the hand
Hornady.
primer. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was going to read what Idaho just popped up. So
Go ahead.
go ahead and finish what you were saying.
I was just going to read what Nelson said, and that would be, he said that Hornady hand primer needs Hornady shell holders.
Yep.
And Idaho Rogers UMC, Travis's buddy, has got a comment up that Mike wanted to read.
So what Idaho was going to say is what I'm just going to talk about because I found it in the instructions. Hornady has 2 plates. One is for RCBS shell holders and the other is for Hornady shell holders. So this one is for the Hornady and this one's for the RCBS. But if I remember correctly, RCBS and Lee are the same dang thing. So anyway. But we'll use Hornady for now because we've got the Hornady shell holder. As soon as I cut it out. Wow, I've never opened this. Oh, that's right, because when I use it, I use the... Good grief. See, this is why thieves suck. Because instead of just being able to peel this thing open, I have to use a torch and a welder and all sorts of other crap. and a knife just to get the damn thing open. So, all right. So how this one works, it's kind of interesting. Because what you're going to do is you're going to pick whether it's small primers or large primers. Okay. And then the shell holder actually goes on top like that. But there's a trick. So then what you do is you take your spring and there's two different size pins here. One's for small priming, one's for large. So we're going to use this large for this. So what you do is you take and you put the spring around like so. And you take and you drop that mess in there. Like so. Oop. Fumble.
Well, Mike's trying to pick up the drop piece.
Ah, it was a piece of cake.
M. Gabriel's got a question, and his question is, sorry, just got here. So is hand priming more precise is his exact question.
Typically.
There's your answer, bud.
So then
Excuse me.
what you do is you take and this. Come on. It's supposed to slide down in. Eventually, when you play around with it enough, you get it slid down in. So it's down in there like that. Push it all the way down. And then you take your shell holder. That slides through like that. And ta-da. So that's how that works. And then, of course, you've got your plate. Make sure that you pay attention to where this is, because that is the only thing that will keep the primers from falling out the other side. So, and that just twist locks like that. But as you can see now, this is blocking that. It's not bad, but it's kind of janky because the way that that sleeve fits through the shell holder. So, although I am using the green one on the black, so maybe that's part of the problem. Let's fix that quick. Paul Loud, I do not get the Primal Rights primer unless you paid for it. And I'm pretty sure you're not going to. So, running with scissors, I do not have a hand primer from Frankfurt Arsenal. My experience with Frankfurt Arsenal was their Vibra Prime, and that sucked ass. So that's where I'm at with that. All right, so now that we've got the correct color, we're going to do this again. Slides in through the top. And you got to kind of finesse it a little bit. Wiggle it just a little bit. And then come on. See, this is where I don't like this one, because assembly should be relatively easy. And even with the Lee, with how inexpensive they are, I was already priming by now. So, and then when you pick it up wrong, the pin falls out with the spring, And yeah. So this is one of the reasons why I don't really like this, because it is not really all that nice to put together. So once again, we're going to try and slip that in. Come on now. Just because I got to show that it actually worked. So most of your bench primers are pretty fast. So it fits a little better, but it's still kind of janky. I mean, you can hear it really dragging on that. So how long before that wears out from priming? So, I mean, I guess it has its merits. Would I buy it? No. And it's not because I'm a cheapskate. Full disclosure, somebody had this, said they absolutely hated it, and gave it to me. So that's how I wound up with it. And I use it for this purpose and this purpose only. Demonstrating. So, throw that crap all back in the box. Set that off to the side. I do not have an RCBS hand primer. I don't have the Frankfurt Arsenal one either. The Lyman's actually pretty good. So, Andy79Z28 says he uses the Lee ACP for priming. It's really fast. He's got videos on his channel. So, this is the Lyman. Pins hold it together so it doesn't come apart. So that's nice. And then so this goes on. You pick out what you're going to use, whether you want small or large. It's nice and clearly marked on the back. Small. And large. So, how this one works is what?
Idaho.
See? So how this one works is I need a shell holder. Any shell holder will do. Could have just taken one out of the press. Come on, back out. Okay, so if you look, it's got a oblong, or not a full rectangular shape. So you can only go in one way. So slide it in, take your shell holder, slap that bad boy on there. Then you take this bad boy. And that slides on like so, locks your shell holder in place. This has got a little on-off switch right here to control your primer flow. And it's just like that, bada bing. Ta-da. So, Lyman's really good, all things considered. So, I mean, it comes apart real nice and easy. Got your shell holder. The only thing I'm not a fan of is because the rest of this is plastic. This little tab here, which is responsible for stopping the primer from sliding and holding the shell holder in place somewhat, it's not real strong.
And mine already broke.
And can you use it without it?
Yes,
There's a
and
fix.
no.
There's a fix.
There's a fix, but I think you can buy the whole plate from Lyman on their parts for like $10.
Okay.
So I just need to order it next time I order parts from Lyman.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's the drawback to that. I mean, there's like I said, there's pros and cons to every single one of these I've showed you. Probably the most hated is the Hornady and the previous version of the Auto Prime. So, for very, very good reasons. Typically in the reloading market, if something's hated, it's usually a good reason. So, Zeke said my lineman will not seed either large or small primers deep enough. I'm wondering if that has to do with the shell holder. So, it might not. I don't know. I've only primed a couple cases in the lineman because, like I said, I've figured out how to use the Lee Auto Prime XR, and I'm really good with it. So, Paul Loud says, "Geez, Holland Shooter Supply is now selling their improved RCBS automatic bench primer for $340. It must be good improvement if it costs an additional $240. So, anyway, but that's what Paul Nelson has. Is the RCBS tricked out by Holland. So, all right. So now I'm turning it over to Nick and Ray, and they're going to show you their bench primer.
Yeah, this is the RCBS bench priming system. We just got it mounted on a board, and I've got threaded fixtures in our bench, and I just thread it down to the bench. How that works, you've got works off standard shell holders. They just snap in just like you do on a press. Just snap in. It also comes with a large and small priming pin that just goes right down in there. And it works off of a priming tube, very similar to either Hornady or Dillon.
Dillon's will not work with this.
Correct.
I figured that out, but Hornady and the RCBS will work.
Correct. And if you're not familiar with how that works, you just take your primers, put them in a primer tray, give them a shake till they all orient with the anvils up. You put your lid on, gently flip it over. Now they're all where the anvils are down, and you just slowly, one at a time, pick them up till they're in this. When you get ready to load it into the thing, you turn it upside down. You set that in there, and you'll pull this cotter pin, and there's a little detent here that keeps the primers from sliding out. So when you're ready to prime, you'll go ahead, Nick.
Push the lever up, which will push the rod down. And of course,
Well, you got to load the primer first. Yeah.
Actually, so you push down, which will load the primer.
Load the
into
primer.
Stem. Then lift up, pushing the stem all the way down, load your case, and then just push down again. Just use your primer. Usually it's a feel thing. Usually you can tell, and then we just always run it, of course. Yep. And just push down again.
Yeah, then repeat the process.
Yeah, it's a quick, nice, simple.
Yeah, you can.
Step, so.
And what I would.
I'm guessing it works much better when it's sitting on a flat surface as opposed to holding it.
Absolutely.
It does.
I just wanted to clarify it for the people that are watching.
Yeah,
As
there's
you can
all
see,
sorts
he's
of
got a-
videos.
Yeah, when like on this case, when we mount that to our bench, it's solid as all heck.
You can see you can fly through it. It's
It's as fast as you can swap out the brass.
Yeah.
And like I said, who makes the
Holland Precision.
Yeah, Holland Precision makes an attachment.
So it's basically it's an arm replacement where there's a micrometer adjustment little dial right here, which sets your seating depth.
Yeah, if you're really particular on your primer seating depth, it works fantastic.
So,
but you can fly through 100 cases of this. Oh, I bet you within five minutes easily. And it depends how many of these you got loaded up. You could go all day long.
Absolutely. And this ain't nothing that's going to break the bank. Which
what are these? About
120 bucks, 130 bucks.
Yeah. They're even cheaper on sale.
Yeah, Midway's been putting them on sale quite often here recently. So, but
we've had extremely good luck with it. I consider priming part of brass prep. It's the very last part of brass prep, and even when I load on my progressive press, I don't like priming on the press. I've had better luck. I've wasted more primers trying to do it on the press. So I do it off the press. That way, when I get to the reloading, all you got to do is feed the powder and go.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to share my screen here and kind of show off Brownells. So here is kind of some of the different bench primers. You've got your Lee, which is basically, I'll bring up pictures of each of these as long as my computer is going to play nice. So the Lee is kind of the base model. It literally uses that same same mechanism that's in the hand primer, except for you just bolt it down. And you've got a better lever. But it's pretty much kind of like what they were just showing with the RCBS, except for you've got the primer feed. You literally put your piece of brass in, you run your priming handle down, and away you go. So, and it's basic, and it's $40. This is the tool that they were talking about. It's $120 that they just chalked.
Forester makes one as well up there in the first row, Mike.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody run one though, so I don't know much about them or how well they work. Or
so this, it looks like. Come on. It's kind of like a horizontal mount of that RCBS almost, except for it's got the priming tube to go with it. So I'd be interested to see how that mechanism works with the priming tube being vertical and it flipping it to horizontal. So looks like a pretty solid setup. I mean, it is Forester, so I've never seen a bad thing from Forester. So, and it's only $105, so I mean, it's not too bad. A lot of this, like here is a different primer arm for that. This is for single stage press. My bad. So that actually goes on to that's for on press.
And they also make the one there for the auto prime system right there, Mike, on that same row.
That first one.
That first one. That's the kind of like Lyman's version. A couple companies make those, and I'll probably end up picking one of those up for my rock chucker here just to have on hand.
I considered that before I bought the bench.
Yeah.
I really did.
So that's just allows you to feed more primers instead of single feed.
Correct.
So what that does, kind of give you a better idea. So that there is the multi-feed. This one here is the single feed. I don't have a rock checker anymore, or I'd show you guys and gals. But basically, picture this piece rotated 90 degrees to the left. The little black piece with the spring around it is your actual primer cup. That's where you set your primer. This actually flips up into the ram. There's a slot in the ram. This actually flips up into the ram. You hold it as you're operating the ram, and then it goes up through the shell holder into the bottom of your case. So that's how that works. I mean, most of your single stage have different things like that. Even Lee's even got one. My O press here does not. I think it's only the C presses that do, but I'm not sure because I don't bother priming single stage on press. That's what hand primers are for. Somebody had asked about the Frankfurt Arsenal one, so we're going to bebop over to Frankfurt Arsenal because I was hoping that Brownells would have it, but they don't. So we're going to hop over to Frankfurt Arsenal here quick. Everybody can watch me surf the web and see how slow my internet is. Thanks, Spectrum. Case prep, reloading tools, priming and depriming. All right. So this is their Perfect Seat hand primer. It's pretty similar to the other ones. My understanding is actually pretty decent quality. So come on. I don't care about the rest of that stuff. I want the primer. They do have a handy primer as well. That's kind of nice sometimes. There's your pockets wager. Ooh, the F1s. Ooh, the F1's on the website now.
Is it available yet, though?
I don't know.
I just
Let's
see details, though.
Notify me.
Yep, as always. That's all gotten pushed back. I'm waiting for their dang universal powder funnel.
Yeah. Which is actually just next window over. So.
So you haven't had good luck with the Vibra tube thing?
This? No. Vibra Prime? No. I hated it. It did not work out of the box, so.
I have a couple people that have messed with them, and they said decent things, but then I've had, like you said, you can't get it to work at all.
If I did some modifications to it, it probably would work fine. But I shouldn't have to modify something brand new out of the box. That was my point. So this, yeah. I don't know if I don't see anything for on press other than, or any bench mounted priming. They've got the M press, the coaxial, which has an on press setup. Coming soon. Yeah, you're teasing I at us.
Well, what's funny, that'll still be showing coming soon at SHOT Show. I guarantee it.
Vaporware. We're going to start calling them Keltec. Keep it up. So now we get into on press. Okay, so the advantage of off press is, what's the biggest advantage of off press?
Feel. I mean, you get a sense of whether it's a good tight fit. You can tell if you got loose primers. Or loose primer pockets, I should say. And if you buy the one apparatus for ours, you can tell adjust primer seat depth.
Yeah, a lot of those you can, though. A lot of different ones.
Yeah.
Jorgen, I thought you were out with your wife for her birthday. What the heck? Anyway.
Also speed. A lot of times speed.
Yeah.
You can do it like hand primers. You can sit down, watch TV, and do hand priming.
Yeah.
So if you want to watch TV, which I don't know why you would want to do priming, because you can lose track. But
No, it's actually not bad. Canna makes a, there's a couple other companies that make hand primers too.
We have a question on screen from
Yeah.
someone that calls themselves Truth. He says he's new to reloading, got a RCBS single stage press. What manufacturer of die would you suggest for 7mm Remington mag? And
How
next
serious
comment
do
from
they want to be?
Say again?
I said the first question I have is, how serious do they want to be?
And Nelson's answer is RCBS, Lyman Forster, or Redding. And that would be roughly in order of price from low to high.
Yep.
yeah, I'm assuming 7mm rim mag. He's probably loading for hunting, more than likely. So yeah, those would be the ones I would go with. You can go lead, but you run into consistency issues, but they're not as bad as.
Spend a few bucks more and get the RCBS.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying a few bucks more.
Yeah, it's
not much more at all.
Maybe 10, 15.
10 at the most.
Yeah, a lot of times, especially those Magnum cartridges.
So I'm going to share my screen quick for a picture of the K&M. So this is the fancy all setup. They sell this as individual components. So they sell the priming tool without the dial gauge. But what the dial gauge allows you to do is really control your depth because it's going to tell you your travel. So now, I mean, it's excuse me. All right.
Bless you, Mike.
Thank you. So the primer gauge, it says the ultimate. So it comes with a large and small primer anvil. So it's 164.40 for it, which for everything isn't bad, considering the primer deluxe itself is 73.60. And then they've got the nice case. So that type of thing. So you can get just the standard primer deluxe, which is this one here, or you can get the fancier one with the travel gauge. So there's also what's its name's bench mount primer, the fancy one that Travis drools over all the time. Somebody mentioned it earlier, but it's really fancy and expensive. It's a few $100.
The primal rights.
Yeah, primal.
Yeah.
Primal Rights makes a really nice one that you can control you can adjust your depth to. So, I mean, there's a lot of different fancy ones out there.
I'll tell you one reason I went to the bench system is, and I'm not old, but the older I get, my hands are getting really arthritic, and those so it's such a repetitive motion on those. It was really bothering my hands, so I went to the bench and don't have that issue. But if you're young, go for it.
No, I would even notice with my hands after playing sports for all my younger life. My hands are already starting to get there.
Well, yeah, it's different using muscles. I mean, for priming, you're squeezing like this, so hey, it's a good hand workout if you instead of using those old spring handle things.
Yeah.
But with a bench mount, it's a different set of muscles. You get to use your arm versus just your hand.
Right.
It's a little bit of difference in learning your pressure curve because your hand's a little more instant feedback than your arm would be. But they're both very fantastic, and once you get the handle of both of them, so on press, I just kind of showed you the RCBS single stage, that little flip in thing. That's kind of your basic single stage on press. Like I said, I don't have the RCBS anymore. Others I'd show you, but the Hornady lock and load AP uses the same setup. Most of them either flip out of the way so they're not an annoying thing, or you can remove it from the press while you're doing other things so you don't have to. On press, I showed you the Leah already, and I'll show you the Dillon. So this is my 550 still, so this is the better priming system. Thankfully, it's not the 650, which is a little different, but kind of annoying. So basically how this works, that tube that Paul was showing you, or that Ray was showing you earlier, and Nick was showing you earlier about for filling, it's the same premise. So this is actually the Dillon one, so it's a little different in design, but it's the same principle. Fill it with primers. You put them in your little tray like the Lyman here, and you go bloop, 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 bloop. And then you take it, you flip it over into here, pull your cotter pin, and the primers travel down here and sit here. So how this works is when you slide the ram, there's your primer cup holder, and it's a little spring loaded. So when you push forward and push up, it actually pushes up, and then you can see the primer there up here into the bottom of the case. How it works is it slides back. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. We'll see. Where'd the flashlight go? Get back here. So I don't know if it'll show you or not, but as you can see, it slides back, and there's a little catch in there. And if there was no primer in the cup, one would drop down, and then it'd slide back forward, and the ram comes down. So it does have some adjustability in it on the back side here. There's a spring that's down here. So, but what actually moves it is that rod right there. There's a roller here, and that rod pulls it out and back. That little screw right there is part of your adjustment system. And then as you watch, there's a flap that comes out, and that's part of the whole system too. So it's actually kind of a little complex little machine in there. So, but that's priming on a press for Dylan. Hornady, I don't have the press here, so I can't show you because it's out in the garage and I'm not going to grab it. Oh my goodness, they're still beating that horse. Anyway, sorry. Hornady is kind of similar. It uses the tube feed system. The actual primer delivery is a little different, but they've got a small and large. The Lee is a little more complicated and goofy on the Loadmasters. There's a whole little mechanism and everything, and there's a little spring in there, and if you don't get it all put back together right, exactly, you bend the spring and you bend a couple other things and it doesn't work right and you got to order new parts. So if you're changing out your primers on a Lee Loadmaster, which if you're using a Lee Loadmaster, good on you. But if you're changing that out, make sure you watch some of the videos that are out there that tell you how to do it without screwing it up, because it is rather cantankerous. Loadmasters are great presses. You just got to know how to tweak them. So, but I mean, you can get a fully loaded Loadmaster for less than the 550. So. The 1050 uses, I believe, a slightly different design for priming. I'm not sure because I've never seen a 1050. But then you get into like the fancy presses, like the Mark 7s, and they've actually got a big fancy priming system. One of the smart things that they've got is they've actually got a sensor in there that tells you if the primer's flipped or not. It will shut the machine down. And then there's literally a little cover you pull off. You can grab your tweezers, grab your primer, flip your primer over, put the cover back on, and start the whole mess back up, and it picks up exactly where it left off. So very nice, very fancy setup. So anyway, so the only time I load on I prime on the presses is if it's mass production ammo, and seating depth isn't as big of a deal. So if I'm loading up custom ammo or hunting ammo or whatever, I'm going to do hand priming because I want to make sure I get consistent with my priming. So, but if it's just target plinking ammo, what I do on a progressive is put enough. And the nice thing is, Paul says the 1050 and others prime on the downstroke, whereas the 550 primes on the upstroke. So you have to actually push the handle forward, like I showed. Where he's saying is on the 1050s, it's on the downstroke when you're pulling the handle down. So the nice thing about the 550 and even the Hornady Lock and Load AP progressive is you can still kind of control how your seating depth is. With the 550, you can adjust where the cup sits, the cup holder sits, and then also how you push on the lever. With the Loadmaster, it's basically kind of a set thing. There isn't really as much flexibility in it. So,
Mike, did you say the 550 is on the upstroke or downstroke?
Either way, it primes on the upstroke. You have to push the handle to the rear to get the 550 to see primers.
Okay.
So my definition of upstroke and downstroke. This is downstroke. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
This is upstroke.
Right.
And then what you have to do on the 550 is you have to keep going.
Okay.
Because when I bring this up and stop and I let the handle go, as you see, that's just sitting there.
Okay. On your upstroke, then all you're really doing is seating the primer, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So you would get 100% feel.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's a really sloppy feel, Ray.
Is it? I say I don't have a demo.
I have a 552.
It's not as bad as the Hornady Lock and Load AP.
Really?
Is it as good as a hand primer? No.
No, never will be.
But I mean, you can get pretty consistent with it. So it depends on how fast you're going.
See, that was my fear on some of those, 4 and 5 and 6 station presses. If it's priming, seating a bullet, and doing everything all at once, I mean, you would lose any feel for anything. It's just.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of it you're going to lose feel, but you can overcome somewhat because some of them have. I mean, you can still kind of adjust with your seating depth somewhat on those.
You have to look at a 550, being that it's on that what you call the upstroke.
Well, the thing is, too, if you're going to get into if you're going to buy a new press, my personal opinion is I would go with the 750. It has the 550 priming system on it.
Yep.
But
Okay.
the rest of it is a lot like the 650. And I've heard it said that 650 is the best machine until never made until they came out with the 750.
Yeah, buy one of each. So, but like I said, otherwise the Hornady Lock and Load AP also does priming on that upstroke. So, which takes a little bit of getting used to because that's a true progressive, where the 550 is a manually indexing press. The AP is a auto indexing, so it's rotating everything as you're going. So you got to kind of really learn how that works and focuses so you don't screw stuff up as you're trying to prime. I mean, it's not really difficult, but it's just another little thing. So, but anybody else got anything to add?
I got a shot off, but that's not for now. Paul Low's got a good one up. He thinks part of the feel on the 550 problem is the handle's leverage. I don't have the shovel handle on my 550. I have this round ball. And I could feel the primer going in. But it's like Mike said, it's nowhere near as sensitive and feel as the hand priming system.
So, yeah, and what I don't know if this is what Paul's meaning, but with a hand primer, it's a direct force, so you can really tell. With the 550, there's a little bit of extra oomph that the machine's giving you that you don't have to put as much hand force into it. So, so that's kind of the difference is whereas with a hand press, you're really controlling how much force you put on that to really seat that. Whereas with, the lever Yeah. So that's what Paul was trying to say. Is you lose some of that feel because you have that extra leverage, mechanical leverage added by the machine.
Yeah, if you're not watching, you can flatten the primer too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, I mean, you can do that
watch.
in hand primer too, just
Yep.
a little more effort. So,
Yep.
so I think that pretty much wraps up talking about priming. But primers will explode. Ask Travis. Ask me.
Travis set off a whole magazine of primers.
Yep.
Right up through the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. So
Didn't go through the floor, but it went through the ceiling, as I understand.
yeah, and his 1050. So all right, gang.
Knock on wood, I've never had that problem yet.
I've set off primers one at a time in my 550. I got frustrated. One shoved a little too hard and it scared the living snot out of me.
Won't do that again.
Nope.
Paul Loud said, make sure your primer cup is clean, as powder kernels will dent the primers too.
He's
so what
right about
talking about
that.
is, that cup where the primers sit, make sure that you don't get powder in there. So if
On
you
the
have a powder
550.
spill, make sure you clean it.
Yep.
So. I don't know if I've got. So, is that it? No, that's not it. No, that's the 650 stuff. Okay. I was looking in there, and I thought I had my other 550 priming head in here, but I don't. It's out in the garage. So I'm going to show you some. All right, gang. Jim, you got any shout outs?
Yeah, Caleb Potter. He knows why. When he listens to this show, he'll know why.
Nick and Ray?
No.
Nope, not at the moment.
All right. So
Well,
I
we could shout out Sharenda for slacking.
That's right. So now another shout out, Jake and Ryan over at Patriot Patch Company. So August, it was so awesome they did 2 patches. Sun's out, guns out, moon's out, goons out. So with the Tiki guys surfing, I suppose the stupid camera only focused on one.
I believe that gent's carrying a scar, and I believe that gent's carrying a Mac 10.
Yep. I believe my camera sucks. So, sun's out, guns out. Guy's got the NVGs flipped up. Moon's out, goons out. He's got the NVGs in action, and he's got a suppressor on the Mac. So, just another set of awesome patches from Patriot Patch Company. Here's an example of another one. Endless Possibilities, AR, lower. So, make sure you swing over, check them out, patriotpatch.co. Like I said, like I was talking about earlier, Primary Arms sent me an Expo Arms upper to test. I was pretty impressed with it so far. It was without BCG, so I used my existing BCG, which I believe was from PSA. So, but an Expo Arms mil spec M16 bolt carrier group in phosphate's only $140 right now. So that's not a bad deal. But yeah, so I mean, swing over to Primary Arms, 12% off site-wide right now. If you buy an optic, Primary Arms optic, use coupon code FRN, you get a free cleaning kit this month. They're changing it every month, so they carry parts, ammunition, reloading stuff, full firearms. So they carry stuff for concealed carry. They carry holsters and other stuff, lights and lasers, duty gear, all sorts of stuff. So swing over, Primary Arms, check them out. So prices are pretty comparable. So Sorry about that. I didn't think y'all wanted to hear my coughing fit. But yeah, that's pretty much about all I got for right now. Anybody else got anything left? Nope. Okay.
No.
All right, gang. Keep your brass shiny.
Teach them to shoot and reload when they're young.
Jump on the Millsop short bus.
Support the Second Amendment, two-way all the way and forever.
And if you're struggling, folks, remember 988.
You need to post that on your computer.
No, I'm looking at Zeke's comment. It says don't forget to like, and if you don't like, hit the thumbs down twice.
Oh,
Thank you. That's an awesome suggestion. So that's why I stopped. But yeah, 988 or the old number is 1-800-273-8255. If you're still looking for brass goblin stuff, by the way, don't forget about Rob from Down Under. HuntShootOffroad.com/shop. And if you use RLP10, you can still save 10%. So thanks to all our Patreons that help make this happen. Thanks to our sponsors. And good night.
Night, y'all.
night.